The story begins with this cafe. A middle-aged hero came in holding the head of a fanged wolf, and right at that moment, an important news was being broadcasted in the television. The hero sat down and he was greeted by this waiter. The waiter called him Old Kaio and asked about his hunt for today. Old Kaio shared that it was nothing much. He hunted with rookies today and there's nothing valuable from the loot they got. He then turned his attention to this huge screen. An important event was about to start. This was a broadcast of their Congress. All of these congressmen have voted and are about to rule out a decision. This man announced that the votes were 325 in favor and 0 votes for against and abstentions. He announced that the new rule called deprivation of the mask was now enforced. This man was He Yao and he was the president of the parliament. He addressed this hero named Mask. He told him that there had been a lot of evidence proving that this hero had committed crimes that cost the lives of the civilians. He also accused the hero of attacking allied heroes from the other country, causing an ill-fated relationship between nations. He Yao and all of these people in the Congress have officially sentenced this hero named Mask to the death penalty. But because of Mask's contributions on expelling the monsters and alien invaders on Earth, they reduced the sentence, but there will be consequences. All the titles of Mask as the Supreme Leader of the Commonwealth and as the Supreme Marshal of the Commonwealth will now be taken away. The only title that Mask has now was the title of being a special hero. This means that Mask will still be forced to help the public and the government in case there will be a problem. He will still return to the battlefield if need be. This event was being broadcasted all over the place. Some people were against this decision. They knew that this hero had helped them on countless disasters throughout the years. This man even added that if Mask didn't exist, humanity would have been extinct. But these two young heroes begged to differ. They told this man that the credit shouldn't all be given to Mask. And then their argument started. This man continued to prove his point. He had this impression towards Mask because he doesn't like the way he treated the other heroes. Mask even thought that there were other heroes that used their power towards personal gain. As for this man, he knew that all these allegations were not true. Their attention was now back to the broadcast. He Yao told Mask that he can now leave the platform as a special hero. He told him that humanity will never forget his contributions as their savior. Mask kept quiet all along. He stared at He Yao and then to the congressman. But something was wrong. Mask didn't know what's going on. He thought that he had already died from his fight against the Lord of the Weaving Night. But right now he's alive and he's on this platform. He thought that this was kind of a flashback. This was the time where he'll be betrayed by his companions. While he was still trying to process his thoughts, this notification popped out in front of him. It was from a system. It shows that Mask had already completed his goal of helping humanity construct a new national alliance. And as for his main goal, he will be given 2 branches of choice. The first branch was called Hero's Path. New crisis has appeared, and even if humanity was dumb, he will still protect them in the dark. The second branch was called Monster's Path. New crisis has appeared, but this time he will protect the world as a monster. It doesn't matter how he does this. After all, he will become a monster. The system gave Mask 20 minutes, and after that, he will be sent to a F-level environment. The greatest hero of humanity was facing a crossroad right now. But after thinking about it, it really wasn't that difficult. This time, he chose the monster path. He Yao then interrupted Mask. He asked him why the hero was not responding. He thought that maybe Mask was not satisfied with their verdict. This guy knew and recognized the contributions of Mask to their society. But as a leader, he needed to carry out this decision. Mask's actions really hindered a lot of their political decisions. In order to gain back the trust of the other nations, the Congress had been polluting the minds of the public towards Mask. Over the years, they made him their scapegoat, and because all of the hate was diverted to Mask, this move will make their Congress look great again. With this, Mask will just become a statue of the past, and all of the people will rely on the Congress again. This move also allows these greedy congressmen to do whatever they want to do. And if someone disagrees, they will be taken care of. But before these men could even celebrate, Mask spoke up and told them that he had an objection. This caused an uproar inside the venue. Yao, on the other hand, was already expecting this. This was because this move will look like Mask wanted to maintain his power and influence to the public, like this guy who had been talking shit to him since the hearing. But then they heard Mask's plea. He said that he also wanted to give up his special hero title. This shocked everyone. Yao was also caught off guard. Mask then stood up and repeated his words. He will give up the title of being a special hero. He told everyone that he's tired of being a hero. Yao started to shout against Mask. He's now implying that Mask didn't like their verdict and now he's doing this as his revenge. But Mask told him that he's not really disappointed with their verdict. Instead, he was glad about it. This guy didn't expect any of this. He thought that this plan would go so well that they could still use this hero to protect them. He thought that Mask was just using his power and strength to fight the Congress. Yao told Mask that he can't leave just yet. He then added that since Mask had given up his special hero title, he should also give up his power. The people were starting to get confused about this statement. Some of them even thought that this was too much to ask. Mask was a rank 13 hero. The next hero below him was only rank 9 and it was Yao. Mask was also the only one who managed to break through the 10th level realm. Most of the current heroes that this achievement was impossible for everyone to surpass. This speech continued to utter words that would destroy Mask's image to the public. He said that Mask had no right to just abandon them after putting all the resources to him. And now if Mask really wants to leave his position as a hero, he needs to give up his power. Mask responded and his aura started to overflow. Yao became speechless. This was the same for the congressmen and for the people who were watching. Mask agreed with Yao's condition. He then raised his hand and started to gather his power. He will now give up his strength. These greedy men started to feel pressure inside the venue. Meanwhile, Mask continued to stack up his power. People also started fainting out. They really can't handle the pressure. Even Yao started to struggle. He's a rank 9 hero, but he needed to use all of his power just to stay conscious in front of Mask. This hero's aura was enough to make everyone kneel in front of him. And now, since they wanted his power back, he was more than willing to give it to them. A huge ray of light was casted towards the sky. This busted all of the things that it hit. People who saw this outside even thought that this was a mysterious phenomenon. They thought that a king-class monster had descended over their city. But this ray of light that once had symbolized hope for humanity meant something different this time. These fools betrayed a hero once again for their own gain. And after a few minutes, Mask was done giving his power up. Yao was surprised that he even managed to withstand the pressure from Mask's power. But this was then followed by showing his shitty grin. He thought that finally, Mask was just an ordinary human again. The greatest hero of humanity had become nothing again. And with that, Mask started to leave. He reached for his mask and removed it. Finally, his responsibility for these fools was over. Yao still hasn't moved on. He knew that as soon as Mask walked out of this venue, he will be facing his end. But then a bright red light appeared below Mask, and then he was transported. Yao can't believe what just happened. Multiple notifications popped out again. Mask was transported to a level 4 secret realm, and it was a mother spider hatching nest, somewhere along a portal. These heroes came out and they were about to raid this secret realm. Their leader warned his team that they were about to fight level 3 spider guards. These spiders' size were as big as humans. This lady told their healer that she doesn't need to be afraid. These guys then told their leader to stop messing around as they were excited to kill the monsters. The other one thought that it was also a waste because they would not be able to watch Mask's trial. The lady uttered that if it wasn't for Mask's trial, this secret realm will not be available for them because other heroes will also be raiding this place. And after some time, their leader told them that it was now time to clear this dungeon. But before they could enter it, the portal shined again. They thought that someone was coming out of it. This man appeared out from the portal. These guys thought that something was wrong about this man because he came into the secret realm without any proper equipment. This guy was masked. and it has been a while since he entered a lower-level dungeon like this one. He then remembered something when he just got awakened. Mask happened to enter a dungeon that had a time limit on clearing it, and the boss in that dungeon was a demon god. But right now, Mask is back to being an ordinary citizen. He's only level 1 human, and the system even sent him in here. Mask was still not sure about this path that he took, but he really looked forward to how things will turn out, especially that he now needs to save the world as a monster. The leader of the party then approached him. He asked Mask if he was there to raid the dungeon. He also asked where his weapon was. Since our MC had no equipment with him, he told the leader that his fist will be his weapon. The leader was glad because he thought that Mask was a martial artist. This was a class that specializes on using their body as a weapon. The leader also asked Mask about his level. He was expecting that this martial artist was at least level 3. Our MC told him that he was just level 1. This shocked the whole party. The leader approached him again. He asked him if he was planning to die inside the dungeon, but Mask told them that he's in there to clear the dungeon. These guys were not buying it. After all, a level 1 hero without any equipment had no chance against a level 3 secret realm. Mask then told them that they needed to relax. He will not even try to bother them. The leader made sure to remember this guy's statement. He told our MC that even if he needed their help, they would not bother themselves. After their conversation, the party proceeded to enter the realm, but the lady looked at our MC one more time before leaving him alone. Their fight inside the realm then started. This lady used her fire skill towards these monsters. The other guy was an archer, and he provided extra support and damage when his teammates needed him. Their leader and the other guy were tasked to be in the front lines. Meanwhile, our MC was just staring at them at the sidelines. He was then approached by this girl. She told Mask that their leader was not really a rude man. He was just concerned about his safety because the realm was indeed a dangerous place to be. She warned him that if he's not careful, he'll pass away. Mask then started praising these heroes nowadays. He said that they really had become progressive and cautious. He thought that all of these things were built using their blood and tears. This girl told him that even though Mask looked young, his way of words were like those who were in the Congress. In short, he sounded like an old man. This trait and training among the aspiring professional heroes started from a policy that Mask had enforced. This requires all of the heroes to cooperate with each other, and this led to lower death rates inside the realms. After that, this girl introduced herself. Her name was Yan Zixi, and she was a level 2 healer. Mask introduced himself as well. His real name was Xiao Q, and he hasn't picked a class yet. From now on, we will address him using this name. He said that he's still thinking about it. Xiao Q thought that all of the existing classes today were all created by him. Zixi suggested that since Xiao Q's physique was not really suitable for melee-type classes, he should opt to choose spell-casting classes. This will also prevent him from being in constant danger being on the front lines. She then apologized to Q because she's been too talkative. As this went on, this pointed object appeared behind Zixi. Q quickly pulled her. It was an attack from the monster, and Zixi nearly got heat from this. The archer shouted that this monster was a shadow spider. Q saved this girl from its attack, and then Q quickly grabbed one of the spider's legs. Using just his bare hands, he was able to rip it apart. Q pulled the leg, and then he used it to attack the spider back. This guy just defeated a shadow spider just by using his left hand. And on top of that, he used the spider's leg as his weapon. The spider died in just one hit. The other party members can't believe what just happened. They thought that the path of a martial artist was too much. This guy said that he had already seen other martial artists, but none of them could replicate what Q did just now. Our MC accurately targeted the spider's weakest joint and attacked it in such a short moment. They knew that Q's skill was not ordinary. Our MC also told Zixi to let go now since there's no danger anymore. Zixi didn't notice that she's been hugging Q since. She quickly apologized and got embarrassed after realizing it. As for our MC, he found out that the monster path didn't affect his leveling system. He got 500 experience points from the spider, meaning he doesn't have to worry about the penalty on killing high-level monsters, as their levels will be proportional to the experience gain. And combined with his knowledge from all the battles he had when he was still the greatest hero, he could easily get back his strength from before. The leader of the party also praised Q because of his extraordinary talent. He really has what it takes to go to this secret realm. He also thanked Q for saving his teammate. With this, Q will also receive a share of the reward when they clear this realm. Our MC told him that he just did that because it's the right thing to do. After that, these professionals continued their quest. They easily defeated all the shadow spiders lurking in the area. The leader then said that the boss should be around the corner now. He reminded his teammates that after this fight, they will all go back to the real world. Their battle plan will also be the usual. As a tank, he will take the aggro and the rest of them will do the damage. He also reminded this lady to take advantage of her fire skill to burn the spider's silk. The archer was also excited to wrap this up because he still wants to watch the trial of Mask. The other one butted in and told him that most probably, Mask was found guilty. They were also curious about Mask's face. No one had ever seen his face with that mask of his. This girl used to be his supporter, but it all changed because of the rumor that Mask killed all the people in the city of Tuga. Zixi then defended Mask. She said that Mask had no other choice but to do that because all of the people in there got infected by a demon. It was Mask's last resort. This guy teased her because she was still protecting the hero's image in front of them. But then the leader told them to stop the talk. He thought that maybe Q was already irritated with them. And thus, their quest continued again. They now arrived at the part where more and more spider webs were scattered around them. But they didn't feel scared because they were more after the reward they could get after defeating the boss monster. And then a monster had made its move. This alerted these professionals. A huge spider really did appear in front of them. The leader took the initiative to take the aggro. While he got the attention of the boss monster, the others started their attacks. Q easily dodged the attacks. He remembered that monsters in the lower realms didn't have any intelligence. This was a reason they can be defeated easily. They continued to overwhelm this monster with their attacks. Zixi also provided support and healed their leader as he was tanking all the damages. And not long after, the monster was defeated. The leader was proud because they cleared a level 3 secret realm without taking any major injuries. He told them that the rewards will be distributed evenly. They will also give Q his share. Our MC heard him say level 3 secret realm. But the system told him that he will be transported to a level 4 secret realm. He thought that there's something wrong in here. The other guy then exclaimed that there's no treasure chest beside the fallen boss monster. They also felt an ominous aura up ahead of the tunnel. Then, they saw this girl with her student uniform walking towards them. This lady noticed something about the girl's head. She was wearing an astronaut helmet. At this moment, they knew that the reason why the treasure chest didn't appear was because that big spider wasn't the boss of this realm. This girl is. This guy then positioned himself. He thought that this secret boss was not that strong because the pressure he felt from the spider was greater than this girl. This boss monster was struggling to walk straight. She suddenly ran frantically towards them. This guy met her head on, but instead of dodging, this monster met his attack and it got her. The attack was spot on. The others were just watching them calmly. This guy even bragged about this fight being so easy. He then pulled his spear back as he intended to finish this fight off. His attack left a hole on the monster's body, but then webs came out from the hole and it targeted him. The boss monster got his arms. He tried struggling to remove the webs, but they were just too strong. The next thing he knew was his arms got broken instantly. Their team started to panic. The leader knew that physical attacks won't work against these webs, so he ordered this lady to use her flames. She casted her spell and she was able to heat the monster. The archer also started rescuing their teammate because he might also be caught with the fire. But before he could even get near them, the fire even grew stronger. And then they saw multiple legs coming out from the fire. The girl monster just grew multiple limbs. She was now more like a spider. The team started to panic, as they have not seen anything like this before. And while this guy was screaming, a foot got on his chest. It was the boss monster's attack. The archer was ready to avenge his friend, but he was stopped by RMC. Q warned him that he will recklessly fight this monster. He will end up like his friend. Their leader backed what Q said. This monster's power was out of their league. He intends to hold this monster up until the portal opens up again, but he found out that it would take another 3 hours before they could use it. He knew they couldn't hold this fight that long. The monster also started its move. It used its web again, and this time, it got into the leader's arms. The archer tried to help, but his attacks were useless. After that, the monster attacked him as well. The monster then pulled the archer towards her direction. Its ferocious teeth then appeared. The archer was not able to do anything about it. The monster got her early lunch. This incident made their leader furious. He then mustered his strength and slashed the webs of the monster, but his blade was stopped. This level 4 monster was just too strong. His attacks as a level 3 swordsman were just treated as nothing. The monster then got his hands again, and now he's the one who's being pulled. Q then shouted to give him his sword. He told the leader that if he wanted to live, he would let Q cut his hand. He knew he had no other choice. The leader threw his sword towards Q. RMC didn't hesitate to cut off his arm, as this was the only thing that could save the old man. The leader then screamed in pain. After that, Q helped him have some distance from the monster. Zixi then used her skills to heal her leader. Meanwhile, this lady was already in a state of panic. She then ran away because she didn't want to die. Zixi asked Q why he was not doing the same. RMC told her that this monster was just letting her prey run because it makes them tastier. The monster wants them to feel fear first before killing them. These kinds of monsters were called God-chosen beasts. They fed on humans' negative emotions like fear, jealousy, and resentment. Q further explains this to Zixi. These monsters were blessed by the outer gods, that's why they became more powerful than the normal monsters. RMC knew about this because he already defeated hundreds of these monsters in his past identity. But he never expected that the system would send him into a realm that already has this kind of monster. This God-chosen beast started to do something weird again. It released a poisonous gas and it spread throughout the place. Luckily, Zixi was there and she has a skill that could repel the poison. Meanwhile, this lady was now in trouble. She ran away and she was already out of range from Zixi's skill. She inhaled the poison and immediately went unconscious. But since Zixi was just a level 2 healer, she wasn't able to withstand the pressure of the poison gas. This monster was starting to get happy, but then it noticed something. Q was already missing from his position. He told the monster that even though his powers were gone, his spirit and soul were still at level 14. That made him withstand the poison gas. RMC also acquired a skill while he was fighting in this realm. He activated his skill and his appearance started to change. RMC just transformed to his new form as a monster. And he told the monster that it should be proud because it will witness his new strength. The monster released more concentrated poison gas towards Q, but RMC was already taking his position to dash towards the monster. And in a split second, he vanished. The monster had no time to react. It received significant damage from Q. RMC got one of its legs. He even teased it because these legs were quite good. The monster tried counterattacking, but it was no use. The power gap between these two was just too wide. Q was even disappointed because he expected more from it. But since he needed to end this quickly, RMC continued his attacks. And as expected, the God-chosen beast was overwhelmed. It only now has one leg to stand on. RMC really started to make fun of his prey. This monster knew that it had no chance of winning against Q. That's why it started running away. But then, its other leg was cut off again. The monster fell down. She looked like more of an octopus now. A takoyaki. As it tried to crawl away, it was stopped by Q. This is the new form of humanity's greatest hero now. A monster that could devour all the other monsters in the world. And just like that, RMC ended his fight. The system then congratulated him for clearing the quest. He also got a spider foot as a reward. And he will be transported back to the real world now. 2 hours later after the incident, Zixi was now wandering the streets. She still can't believe what happened inside that realm. When they woke up, they were already out of the secret realm. The leader was also rushed out to the hospital. The other lady was also not injured, but Zixi was worried about Q because she didn't see him after that, and as she searched for our MC, eventually she saw him in front of a building. As for our MC, the system transported him in Dawes City, and right now he's looking for a place to live in. But the rental cost for one room was already over 3,000 Union dollars per month, and since these things were given to him for free in his past identity as a hero, he didn't have anything for himself right now. He didn't even have money. As he was thinking about how difficult life would be for him now, Zixi shouted his name. Q remembered this girl as the healer from the secret realm, and she got a little disappointed because Q didn't remember her name. She then told her name again. This girl's name was Yan Zixi. Aside from that, she was happy to see Q all safe and sound. She then noticed that Q was looking at the rent rates for this building. She found out that Q didn't have a place to settle in as he also didn't have any relatives in this city. Zixi started talking about the history of Dawes City. This place was established 40 years ago after the disaster. With a rapid development around the area, it became an urban village in no time. Zixi made Q follow her and she showed him her house. This girl just adopted our MC. Her house was big enough to have a separate room for Q. Q then saw something in Zixi's gate. She told him that it was a medal that her father received when he retired as a hero. His father was a level 5 melee professional and he took part in a lot of battles. Zixi told Q that her father even had the opportunity to fight alongside Mask. Although she's not sure if this was true because her father often tells this story when he is drunk. Q then asked her about her father. It turns out, her father was already gone. The war had taken its toll on his body. Even if all the wounds from the battles had been healed, his father lost too much vitality. He passed away not long after he retired. Our MC then asked about her mother. She had already passed away as well when she gave birth to Zixi's sister. Q became speechless after hearing this. But then Zixi told him that he doesn't need to have that expression because this all happened a long time ago and she's doing well now. She then invited Q inside the house. She will even give Q some clothes to get him started. This girl then pointed out the room that Q could use. This was a spare room and he can live in it. Q thought that compared to his past identity being always in the front lines, this life was better. He will also make sure to pay her kindness once he starts earning from the secret realms. And then someone came. It was this girl in a wheelchair. And she's asking who Q is. This girl was Qian Liu and she was Zixi's younger sister. Zixi also explained Q's situation to her. She introduced Q as her companion in the secret realms, but this girl didn't like her older sister bringing someone she just met to their house. Qian Liu then went away. Zixi apologized on behalf of her sister to Q. She told him that her sister gets agitated whenever she sees some strangers. Also, this was the day that Mask went to trial. Qian Liu was a big fan of Mask. Q didn't expect that he would have many fans in the past. Meanwhile, Qian Liu was back in front of her computer. This girl was busy being a keyboard warrior against all the bashers of Mask. She continued to type her rebuttals towards these trolls. And then, Zixi shouted that it's time for them to eat. But this girl was really dedicated to her mission. She doesn't want to eat even if they have a guest waiting for her. She also told her sister that she doesn't need to welcome Q. Eventually, Zixi gave up. She then apologized to Q again because their food now was too simple. But in Q's perspective, these foods were already good. He remembered the times he was forced to eat monster meat without any seasoning. He had to endure all of those times in his past life. That time, he had the mindset of a hero. He was willing to endure all the hardship as long as he could bring peace to the world. As they were eating, the news about Mask's trial was broadcasted. These two hosts were talking about what happened in the trial. This one said that there's a hypothesis about Mask's disappearance. The people on the internet said that Mask only pretended to give up his powers. After all, he just disappeared after the trial. This other one was more concerned about the fact that the greatest hero of mankind was gone. He's thinking if they will all just be fine if they experience a disaster once again. This guy was obviously against Musk. He was being biased on his statements. He said that he's sure that mankind will once again withstand any disaster. He emphasized that even without Musk, the world will still move forward. Zixi was still also concerned about the verdict on Musk's trial. She was about to ask Q's perspective on this matter, but she got distracted because Q ate so fast. It was already his fourth bowl. This guy was just busy eating and enjoying his food. But Zixi continued to tell him her thoughts about the trial. She still thinks that Musk has his reasons behind his actions. Q half-heartedly responds to Zixi's thoughts. She realized that Q didn't really care about Musk at all. If only she knew that his guy was Musk. She thought that if her sister saw this news about their idol, she had already smacked the TV down. Suddenly, these two heard some loud noises outside. These shouting people introduced themselves as representatives of Kai Jiang Investment Company. They kept on knocking aggressively, and they even threatened to burn this house down if someone would not open the door for them. Zixi then quickly ran towards the door. She opened it and these guys greeted her. She then told them that her decision on not selling this house to their company was final. But then this guy explained her situation to her. She just lost her party because of the secret realm they raided, and now she has no source of income. Zixi was confused on how these thugs knew about what happened inside the realm. This guy then told her that their company had some connections to the government and it was easy to get some information about them. This guy knew that eventually, Zixi will have no other choice but to accept their offer. He also gave her 5 days to consider their offer, and if she wouldn't cooperate after this, things would get troublesome for Zixi. He offered $100,000 federal dollars in exchange for her house. Zixi got confused again because the offer before was $3 million. Although she had no intentions on selling this property to them, it still doesn't make any sense. This guy was really taking advantage of this opportunity. He was forcing them to take his offer immediately. He even used her sister's medical bills to even make her think about taking the deal. Qian Lu needs her treatment and it will cost a lot of money, and right now, Zixi only has less than $30,000 in her bank account. Q then came out and this guy noticed him. He then greeted Q as he thought that he was Zixi's boyfriend. He tried to offer a handshake with Q. He even introduced himself to him. This guy's name was Tujin Kenzo and he's the chief of the security department. RMC accepted the gesture. Before they could shake their hands, Zixi warned Q about Kenzo's abilities, but it was already too late. This guy specialized in mental strikes and he plans to use it. He used his power against RMC. Kenzo entered Q's mental world and he was about to launch his attack here. He was even thinking of just giving Q a minor concussion because he's been in a good mood lately. But this guy started to get confused. He's been trying to reach Q's consciousness for a while now. And then he noticed something. This wide world was Q's mental world. He's now in panic because this was the first time he encountered a powerful mental power. Kenzo knew that he needed to flee as fast as he could, but he was stopped by these huge waves. The waves got him. He thought that Q was on a whole different level. This guy was about to get devoured by Q's mental power. RMC didn't have to do anything. Kenzo also saw this while he's being submerged by Q's consciousness. He screamed because he just saw the true monster. Back to the real world, Kenzo went out cold. Zixi didn't know what was happening. The other bodyguards were about to attack Q because their leader just got unconscious, but he was stopped by the other one in charge. This guy knew that Q was too strong for them to handle. He thought that Q might be a level 3 professional based on how he handled Kenzo, as he was trying to help his boss. This guy told Zixi that their affairs were far from over. They even have the nerve to say that if someone caused problems with their people, things will not be easy even though they were the ones who started this. After they left, Zixi asked Q if he really did that to Kenzo. Q told her that it was Kenzo's fault for trying to get inside his mental world. RMC didn't even have the intention to do that to him. Q then found out that the Kai Jiang company has been harassing them for 4 years now. That they really wanted to buy their house. Even if Zixi already told them that they will not sell the house, they continued to disturb them. They even threaten her sister whenever she's not present. This only stopped when her leader came into the rescue. But now that this kind man was in the hospital, she's sure that they will come after them again. Q then asked her about the preferential treatment they should be getting from the government as he passed this bill when he was still a hero. It was then revealed that Zixie's family didn't receive such a thing. The government was also backing these shark companies. This was the only time that Q found out that his policies when he was still a hero were not being enforced properly. After that incident, Q helped Zixie on washing the dishes. This was the only way he could help them for now. Zixie told him that she was already grateful because Q drove those thugs away. She then asked him about his plans on the secret realms and if Q will join other parties. And it's the same case for Zixie. If her leader doesn't wake up soon, she will be forced to join other parties. But joining other parties nowadays was kinda risky. Some parties even backstabs their members just to gain more loot. Mask had already enforced a policy prohibiting professionals on killing each other, but when people were already inside the realm, no one could really tell what's happening. She told Q that if she was able to find some reliable parties, she would surely recommend Q to them. Q agreed to her suggestion. But deep inside, our MC knew that ever since he chose the monster path, joining other professionals will be impossible. He also knew that no one in their right minds would fight alongside a monster like him. And while he was finishing up cleaning the dishes, the system notified him again. It was a level 4 secret realm mission again. But the main requirement for this was Q needs to clear this alone. And he only has 12 hours to prepare for this. After some time, a portal appeared in this secret realm. Q came out from the portal. This was the secret realm he needed to clear alone. He also thanked the system because he was able to enter and exit the realms without requiring official requests from the government. Armak noticed that this realm's design was like Europe's Middle Era. He also noticed these huge gargoyle statues. As soon as he locked his eyes with these statues, the stones started to crack, and not long after, the stone gargoyles turned into scarlet gargoyle monsters. He then started to analyze the characteristics of these monsters. He thought that if Zixie's team encountered these monsters, there would be a lot of casualties. The gargoyles didn't waste any more time and they charged Q, but they were just stopped on their tracks with Q's hands. Our MC used his monster form again, and now, he felt pity among these monsters because they were about to get wrecked by the true monster. And just like that, our MC eliminated 2 gargoyles. Q continued to wander around this realm and he then saw a whole bunch of gargoyles again. He even challenged them to charge him all at once. The monsters started to fly and surround Q. Our MC did this superhero landing pose, but this time, he's gonna do something different. Q jumped up as well, and then one by one, he defeated these gargoyles with one strike. And after a while, our MC went on being One Punch Man to rip the gargoyles' wings apart. Even these stone monsters were able to feel fear when they fought Q. After defeating the last gargoyle, something came down. It was the leader of the monsters. It was called Lux Stone Statue. Q made a comment about how this one looked more like a human, and because of that, Q wanted to kill it even more. After that, these two dashed towards each other. The room was then filled with silence. After a while, someone opened the door, and these professionals came in ready to take a fight. But all they got was a pile of rubbles and an empty room. This guy was confused because they were told that they were the first team to enter this dungeon. The entrance was also closed when they entered this place, so it was really a bit odd that someone got in before them. This lady started looking around and she found one of the gargoyles' bodies. She told her leader that whoever did this was indeed a monster. The damage was not from a sharp sword because of its uneven texture. That means this was done by ripping the body apart. This idea was enough to send chills into their bones. Using bare hands with this fight was just too much and nearly impossible. But then this guy saw something that could prove that this really happened. A body was pinned on one of the pillars of this room. It was the leader of the monsters, and Q used its spear against it. Meanwhile, at the Secret Realm Inspection Bureau office in Dawes City, these guys were being filled with a lot of complaints. This boss was furious because the amount of people who were reporting that the dungeon they were supposed to clear was already done by someone else. But currently, there are already 7 reports, and this can't be kept on happening because it means that they were neglecting their duty as officers. But this guy thought that this was not really a good thing because secret realms were really supposed to be cleared sooner or later. The boss got more angry because this guy didn't see the bigger picture. Secret realms were indeed opted to be cleared, but not from those who evade their security. This also compromises the safety of the professionals inside the dungeon. If that unregistered person will just kill monsters inside, then there's no problem. But what if his main purpose was to ambush the professionals? This will really create a huge uproar to the hero community. The boss then told his team that back in his day, most of the heroes that entered the dungeon were not killed by the monsters. They were betrayed by their companions to gain more power and money. He also started to analyze the situation. It all started with the dungeon where the gargoyles were ripped apart. According to the reports, the infiltrator should be at least level 4 to 5 professionals to do such a thing. They also ruled out the possibility that this was done by a group of professionals because the way the monsters were defeated showed only one pattern. And with this information, the boss concluded that the person behind this will also try to sell the loot that he got to the market. He then tasked his team to check the market around the city and find those who got the same loot that can be obtained from the infiltrated dungeons. Meanwhile, at the professional trading market at Dawes City, this shopkeeper was glad to have business with someone. It was Q. He indeed sold the loot drops to these shops and he got a decent amount of money. He also didn't really care about the price he was selling because this was just a bonus for clearing his quests. But with this money, Q could now help Zixi and he could also pay his rent. And then he heard a familiar voice nearby. It was Zixi, and she's trying to sell an item to the shop. This shopkeeper was trying to haggle her into selling her antique sword for a much cheaper price. He told her that since it was too old, it would be worth just like a scrap. This blade was her father's and it was the only treasure she got right now. And now, she's sad because this thing was just considered as a scrap now. The shopkeeper saw her pitiful state and told her that he'll buy it for $3,500. His offer was $3,300 before. Zixi was already thinking about it. She really didn't want to sell this, but she needs money to pay for her sister's medical expenses. As for the shopkeeper, he was trying to take advantage of the situation because Zixi had no idea about what she was selling. A sword like this one can only be obtained in high-level secret realms, and this item would easily sell for $10,000. He then tried to pressure Zixi more into selling the sword now because he might change his mind. But then someone spoke up. It was Q. He checked the sword that Zixi was holding, and he knew that this was a level 5 professional long blade. He told Zixi that he wanted this equipment. The shopkeeper shouted at him because our MC just poached his transaction with Zixi. And then Q decided to give Zixi the money he earned from the dungeons. Since this was a lot of money, the shopkeeper conceded. After that, these two decided to sit somewhere in this park. Q now has the sword in his hand. Zixi told him that she could give the sword to him for only $1,500 because he had already helped her a lot. But Q denied her trade offer. He told her that she should take all the money because this was his payment for the accommodation and for all the delicious food she took care of. Q insisted that she take the money. Our MC also told her that this blade was not as simple as she thought. The value of this sword easily exceeds $10,000. Zixi then commented that this blade really suits him because they were full of secrets. She had been thinking about the mysterious things around Q. This guy was able to escape the secret realm they were in last time, and now he has gained so much money in such a short period of time. But she made sure that she would be meddling with Q's actions. She just wished that Q would be nice enough to really take care of her father's treasure. The sword's name was Flying Crow. Q thought that it was really a great name for a sword. It's like a dangerous crow that was lurking in the dark, waiting for its chance to attack. Zixi also told Q that she really didn't want to sell the sword, but she had no other choice. She also shared about the tragedy that struck her younger sister. Qian Lu was at prison in the city when the Great Ghost incident happened. This great ghost was a level 10 monster that caused trouble in Dawes City. The government army and the professionals all sacrificed a lot of lives just to defeat this monster. Her father was killed in this incident, and the only thing that was recovered from this tragedy was his sword, Flying Crow. The most deadly thing about this incident was a radiation emitted throughout the city. The sky even turned green that day. Qian Liu was also struck by the radiation and her feet both got affected. She was on the edge of the radiation. Zixi also shared that Qian Liu was a genius in using swords. She could easily become a level 5 swordsman or higher, but this all changed when she got that accident. And now, she needed constant treatment from high-leveled healers just to prevent the radiation from spreading out to her body. Zixi was also forced to give up her close combat career because she needed a more survival-rated job. Q remembered this incident. He was the one who defeated the Great Ghost with just one punch. But he was deployed 10 hours late. He didn't expect that in such a short period of time. That incident changed so many lives. Our MC was reminded why he hated the monster so much. Q also remembered that Mask made a deal with the federal government to assist all the affected families from that incident. But Zixi didn't know about it at all. And after sharing this burden with Q, she felt more okay now. She told Q that they should head back home now. She will also be cooking delicious food for Q, and they went on their way. Q also happened to pass by these two men who were looking for the loot drops from the infiltrated dungeons. They were sure that the loot would be sold in the professional market in no time. Meanwhile, in the house of Zixi, Qian Liu was still busy fighting the trolls of the internet. But then she heard loud knocks on their door. She thought that this was not her sister because the knocks were too aggressive. She then remembered about the guys from the Kaijiang investment company. The knocks kept on getting stronger. Qian Liu saw her wooden stick and grabbed it. She made her way towards the door, and that's when this guy managed to open it with his kick. The guy proceeds to enter the house and he greets Qian Liu. This annoyed Qian Liu and tried swinging her sword, but she was not able to land a strike. She also fell down. The guy then stepped on her weapon. He knew that Qian Liu can't do anything to him because she can't reach him. This boss then ordered his men to search for Zixi and the guy that hurt Kenzo last time. These thugs started to flip and destroy everything inside the house. And then these lackeys reported that they didn't find Zixi and Q. He then decided that they will just bring Qian Liu with them because they can't go back empty-handed. The other guy told his boss that this was not a good idea because they could be charged for kidnapping. The boss praised this guy and gave him a special task instead. He gave him the keys of a truck and ordered him that as soon as Zixi and her boyfriend arrives, he will drive the truck to Zixi's yard. The boss planned to dump garbage in their yard and file it as a minor accident. These guys liked the idea and they all laughed. After some time, rain started pouring down. Zixi and Q were still running towards their house. But then Zixi saw something. She saw her younger sister still on the ground. Qian Liu was just left there with her pitiful state. Zixi quickly ran towards her sister to help her. Qian Liu told them what happened. She said that it was the Kaijiang investment company. Q then assisted Qian Liu going back into the house. But then they heard a loud crash. It was the truck, and it really crashed into their yard and all the garbage was dumped in front of them. Zixi held her ground. She already knew who did this. The guy even tried to tease them that this was just an accident. He also told Zixi that she should also clean this up since she was already standing in front of it. Qian Liu then tried to console her sister, but Q stopped her. He told her to let her sister be alone. He said that it would only make her sister sadder if she insisted. Zixi then went inside their house but her head was still held high. But she didn't say a single word to them. After that, Q and Qian Liu were left outside the house. Liu then asked Q why these kinds of things were happening to them. She wonders if there's really justice in this world. Q told her that there never was. Liu then proceeds on asking for even a bit of hope or fairness in their society. And our MC told her the truth. These things really don't exist. He said that even the rain falls unequally to everyone. Q held her sword and told her that rain falls to those who were suffering and to those who were unrighteous. He further told her that the world was really unjust. Even this simple rain was proof of that. Our MC was clearly annoyed about what happened. He destroyed the wooden sword of Qian Lu only with his grip. Qian Lu was not able to contain her feelings and she started crying. Q told her that her family's problems were too small compared to the problems of this world, and he can't really be bothered with their affairs. But since our MC was always being followed by trouble, he opted to do something about it. Qian Lu asked him where he was going. Q told her that he was going to kill these people. This girl panicked as she heard his response because she thought Q can't win against them. The company has fighters that were levels 3 to 4. She also reminded him about their problems being too minor to be bothered upon. Our MC agreed that this was really a minor problem. In fact, it bores him. But the truth is, he was fond of doing boring things like this, especially when these problems can be solved using violence. That day, it was a rainy afternoon. Q was already in front of the building, ready to attack. Inside this establishment was a luxurious experience. It was also filled with strong bodyguards in case someone would cause any trouble. Q entered the building and it quickly alerted the guards. But instead of being scared, they looked like they even wanted some trouble. These two approached Q and told him to put away his weapon. But our MC didn't stop walking. It felt like he had already done something. In a split moment, this guy had been slashed. These two were already turned into dust. Q also got a new mission from the system. It required him to use Flying Crow to kill all the hostile beings in the building. And as for its reward, the sword will have an upgrade. After that, more guards were deployed to stop Q, and he continued to walk towards them. One of the guards told his companions to be more careful, and thus, they surrounded Q. These guys started their attack. With a swift motion, our MC already got them. This guy was also just about to strike, but our MC already noticed his aura. Q used his sword and he got his arms, and then he targeted his body. But Q's blade got stuck. Flying Crow was already dull. The others noticed this and were about to use this information to their advantage. Q got his sword off and decided to use his fist instead. This caught this guy off guard. He knew that Q was a weapon user, but his physical strength was greater than those martial artists. After that, Q got his sword again. He continued his quest to kill these men. Meanwhile, at this office, the man who went to Zixie's house was just chilling. He thought that eventually, those two sisters would sell their property to them. These guys were already expecting large profits if they could redevelop the place. But then this guy barged in and alerted his boss. He told them that someone was killing all the guards and that man was already on his way towards them. It's only one intruder, but he already managed to kill most of the guards. This guy was now thinking who they have messed up with. They always make sure they won't be involved with high-level professionals or people with great influence. He ordered his men to check out what's really happening. They went out and brought all of their weapons with them. And then they saw something. Someone was on the stairs and was begging for his life. But he was met with this dark slash. And then Q emerges from the stairs. This boss was quickly intimidated by the aura of our MC. He tried acting tough and told his men that they were all high-level professionals, so they can't be scared of one guy. These three had prepared themselves and wielded their weapons. Since they were level 4 professionals, they asked Q to just surrender. The other guy recognized him and told his boss that Q was the one who put Kenzo in a coma, and he's with Zixie's house when they went in there last time. Q thought that if he'll be facing 3 level 4 professionals, he would have a hard time if he'll just use his human form. Our MC then destroyed these light switches in the hallway, and the lights went out. These guys were already thinking that Q was planning to take them out in the dark. But this guy told him that darkness doesn't bother him as he had this night vision skill and he activated it. His vision slowly adjusted and then he saw something odd. The man they were facing with a while ago was gone. And right now, there's a monster in front of them. This guy felt the ominous aura around them. He saw Q move, but it was already too late. Flying Crow already devoured him. Their boss tried calling out this guy's name, but all he got was a stench of blood. He's wondering if his companion is already dead. Lightning struck something near the building, and the light from it showed them this horrible scene. Q was already ready to strike. This guy was able to block Q's attempt. He knew that if he had reacted a little slower, he'd already be dead by now. The blonde guy used his ice skill and casted an ice arrow, but Q already saw his attack. Our MC blocked this powerful attack just by using one hand. He also crashed it using his grip, and now he turned his head towards the guy who made the attack. Blood was all over the place and their leader heard it. Q was already holding one head, and before their leader could even speak to Q, his head was cut off. The greatest hero of humanity has clearly taken the monster path. Flying Crow was now drenched in blood, and those reinforcements that came to help their boss were now scared for their lives. They didn't expect that they would meet a monster today. Q suddenly vanished from their visions, and the next thing they knew was that the monster was already in front of them. After a few seconds, Q had already taken care of them. That's where this guy told Q to stop. Our MC knew that this guy was different from the others. This one was a level 6 professional. This professional thought that this monster in front of him was just using a transformation type of spell, but it also had a demon breath. So this hypothesis was already out. He then slowly walked down the stairs. He told Q that he's in between a human and a demon, and that makes him a very rare monster. He now plans to hunt Q down to compensate for all the losses he got from today's encounter. This professional made his move and vanished for a second. He came to our MC and aimed his head. Q was able to dodge it, but he still got grazed. This professional was already impressed because Q managed to dodge his attack. He praised Q's reaction speed, but that initial attack was just to check Q's capabilities. And since he already got the information he needed, he continued to attack Q. This guy was really powerful. He managed to land some slashes throughout Q. He was already enjoying this because his opponent was quite tough. But then he knew that for his next move, this monster was done for. This guy lunged towards Q. Our MC dodged it easily, but this was just a trap. This guy just took out a gun against a monster. He clicked it and he managed to land a clean hit on Q. He was quite satisfied because this technique never missed a shot. All of the monsters he used this with were all blown to pieces. He's now thinking that he could still sell this monster for high price. But as the dust settled, Q's head was still intact. This professional can't believe that a monster managed to withstand that attack. He's now thinking how this monster survived his attack. Q spoke and told him the name of the technique that this guy used against him. It's called 19 Rapier Style. Q praised this guy for mastering this technique to this extent. Our MC knew this technique because he's the one who invented it. He specifically designed this technique for rapier users. But since this was created by Q, he knew how to counter it. He also said that this technique was just to be used for the righteous. And this guy has been using it for the wrong cause. He didn't understand Q's remarks because in his perspective, he used it to take down a monster. Q explained the situation to this professional. He told them about the families whose lives were ruined because of this investment company. This professional responded that he didn't really care about them at all, because the world will still turn around even if those people were left in ruins. And that was the principle that this guy was talking about. He then continued his quest to take down Q, and because of his twisted principle, Q has decided what to do. Our MC just grew these claw-like things behind his back. The level 6 professional didn't expect this weapon from Q, but still, he dodged it. As for the next attack, it was just too fast to react to. This was just the only chance that Q needed. A barrage of attack was then released towards this guy. After a few more seconds, this was him now. This guy asked Q one last question. He asked what kind of monster Q was. Our MC drew his sword once again as he answered his question. He told him that Q had already established his identity a while ago. And just like that, Flying Crow was drenched in blood again. Q noticed that it then started glowing. Flying Crow just evolved into its new form called Blood Raven. This weapon's ability was its unlimited growth potential. Its appearance didn't change at all, but our MC knew that something within it was different. It felt like his weapon even had its own heartbeat now. He thought that this was really a perfect weapon for him because both of them had an unlimited room for improvement. After that, Q noticed another guy who was already scared to death. He tried begging Q not to kill him, but our MC was now a monster. Unlike being a hero, His morals were now different. He then gave this treat to his newly evolved weapon, Blood Raven. The slash from the sword was enough to devour this guy. It even destroyed the building, and its power was seen outside. And as this chaos was happening inside the building, a special task force was already on their position. This officer reported that they had already surrounded the area. Someone managed to report this mess to them, and now they came to arrest the infiltrator. The one who's in charge of this operation told his troops not to attack first. They will wait and hope that the suspect will negotiate with them first. This old man knew that all of the people killed inside this building were not innocent. They were the ones that ruined thousands of lives. But he still needs to do his job. As they waited outside, one officer saw someone was coming out of the building. It's RMC, and all of his clothes have a lot of blood all over it. Meanwhile, Zixi was done taking a bath, and she just found out that Q made his way to Kaijang Investment Company. This girl quickly grabbed her umbrella as she was about to stop Q. As she was walking towards the building, she saw the armies of policemen that surrounded the area. She was stopped by one of the officers and asked if she was Zixi. He told her that she was needed for an investigation that was ongoing right now. The officer then showed Zixi a picture of Q. She told him that she knows